This Halloween season, prepare for thrills, chills, and everything in between. It's Vamptober on KLRN Radio. All October long, your favorite KLRN shows are taking a walk on the dark side. Dive into bone-chilling stories, uncover creepy science, and explore the paranormal with our special vampire-themed episodes. Don't miss a moment of the fright-filled fun. Tune in all month long for Vamptober, only on KLRN Radio.
This Halloween, KLRN Radio brings you a hilarious journey back in time. Relive the classic. This Halloween, KLRN Radio brings you a hilarious journey back in time. Relive the classic terror of War of the Worlds, as performed in the only way KLRN players could do it. Join us for a special encore presentation of this legendary broadcast, originally aired in 2021. Will Earth survive the Martian invasion? Don't miss the thrills, the chills, the iconic terror, and the bong rips. It's War of the Worlds, KLRN Radio style. Tune in for the replay on Halloween night, only on KLRN Radio's X feed.
The turnips.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
I'm Noble McIntyre of McIntyre Law, and I've been representing injured Oklahomans and their families for almost 30 years. At our firm, we've handled hundreds of crashes involving semis. They are huge vehicles, and when fully loaded, can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds. Most semi drivers are careful and professional drivers. Some big truck drivers and the companies they drive for are dangerous, and I've personally seen the devastating effects on families. If you or a loved one has been affected by a semi crash, contact us at 405-777-7000 or McIntyreLaw.com. We will fight for you.
Achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell and save 10 cents per gallon on every fill.
Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about Platinum status and the Fuel Rewards program, or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
It's back to school season for the kiddos, which means it's the perfect time to get your vacay on. Beaches are empty, resorts are quiet, and Cheap Caribbean Vacations has fall vacay deals up to, wait for it, 45% off.
Plus, you can score more site-wide savings and take an extra $50 off your booking now through September 5th. Take this as your sign to pencil in a vacay this fall and turn back to school season into back to beach season.
Go to cheapcaribbean.com to find your next all-inclusive vacay. Offer ends September 5th.
You can achieve Platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell twice as fast by filling up 6 times with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about Platinum status and the Fuel Rewards program, or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends.
No, it's not.
And
you can listen to this
podcasters
one
to see
right
what they
there on
like.
Good Pods.
That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I take a breath, I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
And welcome into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on, let me get this situated because it's got you looking all funky. All right, there we go. All right, now we're both on equal footing. So yeah, probably the only podcaster you've never heard of who has Michael Savage giving him a shout out. Just saying.
What?
That's Michael Savage in the opening of my intro.
Sorry. For a second, I thought you were talking about me. I was like, wait, well, I had no idea. Forget it. Look, this was last minute. You can't expect my A game today.
I don't expect your A game any day. That would be impossible to just play. Anyway, thanks for coming to hang out. Yeah, I was wondering what happened because I posted something like hours ago and nobody ever said anything. And then I got busy doing all kinds of other things. And I was like, damn, nobody said anything. I guess I'm flying solo. And then everybody's like, we didn't see it. I'm like, it happened.
Yeah, well, in the group chat too, every once in a while, stuff flies by because everybody posts in like 5 minutes. And you just lose so much. There's so many times that I'm like, I can't even scroll up and read all of that.
Yeah, it happens. But anyway, so we're here, we're live. This was supposed to be the ladies of the red wine tonight. They are going to be off tonight, and they will be back not this coming Monday, but the Monday after the election, because the Monday before the election is the first Monday of the month, which is Spirited Books with Aggie and Jeff. So they'll be off tonight and next Monday, and then be back for an election recap, and then a tribute to veterans, all that fun stuff. So yeah, somehow in the middle of election season, they scored a vacation. I don't know how they managed to do that, but whatever. Not really, because Diane's going to be working the polls and everything else. That's another reason why they're not there tonight. She's got to get ready for all that fun stuff. So and I'm like, well, it's kind of more important that you're out actually helping the election work than hanging out with me and talking about it. So I can't really gripe that much.
No, you're just better off just sitting here and bitching about things and not fixing anything. What the hell's wrong with that?
Yeah, well, I hear that from people all the time. I love all the people that like to bitch about things and then never vote or never do anything to try to change it. I'm like, what good does it do if you're not involved in the process, but then you complain about everything being broken?
Yep.
I never have understood that.
Because then you don't have skin in the game, right? I mean, you really don't have skin in the game at that point. I understand when people are just kind of like, yeah, I don't really pay attention, or I don't care. There are people like, yeah, my vote doesn't really matter. Like, I just had this conversation with somebody last night where they said, well, we're in California. Our vote pretty much doesn't matter. And I said, I understand what you're saying, because when it comes to the Electoral College on the presidential level, yeah, given the trends in California, our vote really does not matter. The trade-off to that is it still sends a message. And I know that may not seem as glamorous and awesome and tough, but it still sends a message. If all of a sudden the numbers in places like California or New Mexico that is somehow in play again, it sends a huge message.
Well, so here's my thing, right? And I understand why conservatives say that, because we understand how the game is played, and I've been saying this for years, saying that the president should win the election based on the popular vote is like saying the team with the most hits should win the World Series.
Yes. No, and like I said, most people, I think most people are having that conversation. It's not that they don't understand the Electoral College. They actually very much understand the Electoral College, and that's why it's just like, yeah, well, we're in California, so who cares?
Well, no, and I get that, but that's the problem, though, because the left doesn't understand the Electoral College.
Yes.
So by us basically understanding the rules and people just saying it's not really going to matter if I vote or not, we're letting them have their moment, because I guarantee you, if all of us that actually wanted things to change got out and voted regardless of the Electoral College, there would be a landslide in both places.
100%. And you're seeing the early
now. We're actually seeing. Disclaimer: do not get excited about anything we talk about tonight. If you haven't voted yet, go vote. If you can vote early, bank your vote. If you can vote early, drag 10 other friends to vote with you. Once they voted, each of them go finds 10 more, and you do it again.
Foot on the gas all the way to the end. Foot on the gas. Don't look back. Don't check the score. Don't see where you are. Just keep charging, everybody. Because as I've said in a million tweets in the last couple of weeks, if the polls and the betting odds, which I know everyone's like, well, they're not going to lose money. I know, but they're going to gain attention with betting odds. I don't necessarily buy into the betting odds as much, but I don't buy into the polls a lot either. If we're being honest,
they're more accurate than the polls are, though.
But at the end of the day, if either of them are close to accurate, then the only thing we have to gain besides the presidency is a little bit of bragging rights and a message that's sent. If the numbers are close to what they're saying it is, and if the amount of people that are turning out, look, California, the amount of conservatives that have early voted in California is stifling. Just to see conservatives in general take advantage of early voting and to do it and how they're doing it and the numbers that they're doing it is stifling. I'm going to leave that there. But what it does is it it's why they're panicking. I mean, they're panicking on the left right now. They're in spiral mode.
It has been obvious all day today, because if they weren't in panic mode, they wouldn't be focusing on a comedian who if you've watched the clips, his jokes didn't even really go over that well.
No.
So I don't even understand why they are trying to pour as much fire onto this, or as much gasoline onto this little bitty fire as they are, except for the fact that they know they are losing the policy argument. Hell, it's been, I keep telling everybody that I want to get to the point where I'm able to be monetized. Every time I start punching past the thermal layer, I have to deal with stupid. And then I'm like, now I remember why I don't really ever mess with this. 'Cause that's been my feed all day today. Because for the last couple of days, I've actually been trying to be more active, been engaging in more posts and everything else. And all I've done today is fend off stupid. I'm just
Well, it's not going to stop. They're going to ratchet up the stupid because that's all they have left. I mean, I said on my show, and I've said it a couple other times since, any Puerto Rican, any human, it doesn't even matter if you're Puerto Rican or not, any person in this country who did their research and was 100% going to vote for Trump and was going to the polls no matter what, if they were ready to pull that handle for Trump, to suggest that after doing all that research and gain that knowledge into who they're voting for, that they're weak-minded enough that a dumb joke by an insult comic an hour before Trump hits stage will suddenly change their mind, that is insulting to those people, that they're that weak-minded that their emotions will upset it.
Jersey Joe in the chat. Don't forget, when we're done here, he'll be live right here and on SHR Media's feed. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Actually, he'll start before we run him, but still.
Well, look, I mean, you wanted a third guest for the night. There you go.
I was going to say, he's welcome to join us. The link's in the room. Assuming it's still there. I haven't looked.
I got one I got to throw at you right now.
Sure.
Because the internet never fails, and I'm here for it.
And it looks like he took us up on the invite.
Look at this.
That's weird. I got the notification when I let you share the screen like somebody was joining the show. That was different.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they didn't happen last
time. I'm sure everyone's already heard, or if you haven't, there are allegations that Walz had a girlfriend.
Oh yes.
In China.
Yeah, that's actually the third tag in the show title is Walz is the girls. Who knew?
And look how quick we already have a picture of Eric Swalwell with Fang Fang, and they're holding Walz as a baby.
It doesn't take long.
I love it.
It doesn't take long, not anymore. You know who's hardest hit by this whole Walz liking girls thing? His wife, because he made her use a turkey baster.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I said, and I'm sure somebody will be like, "Oh, that's uncouth," whatever. I said, this is probably the
uncouth baked in.
This is probably the one thing that I can actually respect Walz. You went over there, communist China, the commies are running the place. You found a commie princess and you hooked up with her. Like that, if he did it just for that reason, I'd give him credit for it. I wouldn't even be shy about it.
Yeah, I saw you say that that's probably the most American thing he's ever done.
Right? Like, imagine that. I think of, oh gosh, who was it? It might have been the story that Fury was based out of, the Tank Commander. But at some point there was like downtime. No. It was, it doesn't matter. But one of the things that it was part of his legacy story is that when he was, after World War II was ending and the fighting had stopped, he was going around trying to find every like prominent Nazi's daughter that he could and hooking up with them just to say he did it. So if it was like that, I'm like, all right, I'll give you props for it.
Nice. So yeah, what if I told you that Harris's camp is already starting to pull out of a swing state and repositioning resources?
I would not be shocked.
But yeah, it's just nuts because I mean, everything, and again, foot on the gas, don't take a break, don't take a breath, don't relax. Because I still think that's part of what happened in 20 and 22, along with the other shenanigans. Speaking of shenanigans, in case you've missed it, Nevada Supreme Court has decided, Hang on. Nevada Supreme Court has decided that the mail-in ballots don't have to have postmarks. At least I think it was the Nevada Supreme Court that I saw say something about that today. So that could be fun. Cause yeah. So here's the thing that pisses me off about that, because there's a law in Nevada that says that the mail-in ballots have to be postmarked by no later than election day to be able to be counted. Now they're saying they don't have to be postmarked at all. And then the firm that's been behind this, though, the whole time has been like, oh, we just had a great victory for voters in Nevada. I'm like, you just disenfranchised voters in Nevada. How the hell is that a great victory?
Well, and I also think that the ruling that came out a couple days ago out of Mississippi, was it Mississippi or Arkansas? But it's the Fifth Circuit. Yeah, it was the Fifth Circuit out of Federal Court Fifth. Will end up applying here because they said you have to count the day of. So I think that's going to end up being applied here. I'm sure they're going to file a brief on that and have it applied.
Are Mississippi and Nevada in the same circuit?
No, but if they push it up to the SCOTUS on an emergency hearing and saying, hey, wait a minute, this has to be the law of the land, because this, make a decision. Is this the way it is or not? It can get pushed around.
Well, no, I understood that. I just trying to make sure. But yeah, and I don't expect them not to push it at this point. I was just laughing my ass off because I'm like, the same people that keep talking to us about insurrection keep trying to do things to make things rather insurrection-y. It's like, where was it? Portland and Washington today, mail-in voter ballot drop boxes were being exploded.
Yeah, and it was an incendiary device too. So it was actually targeted. It wasn't like somebody threw. When I first saw it, I'm like, all right, some homeless guy, which in that area, I'm familiar with that area, Washington and Oregon, it's right on the border. If they'd said, oh, it just looks like some homeless guy or a kid who came by and threw some fire in there. Okay, it sucks that it happened, but no, these were incendiary devices. An incendiary device is an intentional device that is made and timed to go off and burn all the ballots. When you use violence or the threat of violence to try to alter a political belief of a country, that's terrorism, domestic or foreign. And they are calling it terrorism. I've seen that 2 or 3 times today on the articles about that.
Yeah, but as soon as they started trying to call it terrorism, everybody started saying it was MAGA supporters that were doing it.
Yeah, except it's not.
Oh, I know it's not. We're winning in all the early voting tallies right now.
Why would we be burning it out?
I mean, we're already blowing them out of the water. There's no reason for us to be doing that. And another reason why I know it wasn't MAGA, the 2 places they hit were predominantly conservative areas.
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
Yep. No, it's that is. Everything points to it not being a conservative who'd pull or who threw them in there. But it also starts to bring up the question about ballot boxes and drop boxes and early voting and stuff. Can they be protected? Can your ballot be protected? I know some states, I believe California, I have to go hand deliver it to somebody who puts it in a lockbox inside and you get your receipt or whatever. But not all states do that, as we've seen. They're just out there on street corners.
The way, look, I get it. And this is something that I've tried to explain to everybody ever since 2020, when they were like, well, there's no real way to steal our elections. Yes, actually there are, because we don't have national elections. We have regional elections with national consequences, and each region handles the election in a slightly different way than the other, which does allow for, in certain places, fingers on scales. And we saw it in 2020, plain as day. This is why Nate Silver was ousted from his own group and had to go start his own, because he put the cliff graph up and everybody got pissed.
Yep.
If you don't know what the cliff graph is, that's the little graph that shows from 3 to 5 a.m. the morning after the election, 100% spike in votes for Joe Biden for about a 2.5 hour period.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not a mathematician, but that's statistically impossible.
And it's still controversial to this day. Well, and if you go, anytime somebody brings up, oh, there was no massive voter fraud, right? I think it's...
There doesn't have to be, though. That's the point.
You just need a little bit of voter fraud in the right areas most years. But I think it's
decided by 20,000 votes.
Yeah, that's really not a lot if you look at the overwhelming population numbers.
No, it's not. But that's why I keep telling everybody at this point, we have to vote in a way that there's no way for them to do what they did in 20, and in some cases even in 22, where they went in and did some, creative balloting. I mean, hell, we watched the ballot fairy in real time in 2020. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 16 years.
Yep. And then I always refer people to this page. This is Heritage Foundation, heritage.org, where they track all the people that have been prosecuted for voter fraud. They have the outcomes, they have everything right here. And you can go through states and pick states. You can find out what case type it was, what the details were, all of that stuff. So it happens a lot. People don't want to think it happens, but it does happen.
But Sean, Heritage Foundation,
I know.
That's a conservative site. We don't trust anything that comes from them.
Yeah,
dude.
I know. How dare they make up criminal records and insert them?
I dropped a Red State article on a feed yesterday with multiple sources from other places, and they're like, "Why don't you just drop me some more Red State propaganda?" I'm like, "Obviously, you didn't read the piece."
Yeah. Well, these are the same people who still tell you that the assassination hoax is a hoax, right? The assassination attempt, I should say. He didn't get shot. That's my favorite one. Or it was set up from the beginning and he trusted some 19-year-old kid with minimal firearms training to take that shot just so he could win the election. Like, it's the same mindless morons.
It's just maddening. So anyway, so first of all, welcome to the panel tonight, Jersey Joe.
Hey, welcome. I thought I'd jump on for a minute or two before my show on.
Not a problem at all. Glad you're here. So Al is in the chat. Al, believe it or not, is in Michigan, and he's like 5 blocks away from the Harris rally right now.
I'll be right back.
Oh, God.
I can't remember off for 1 second.
Sure. Interesting little side note, though. He said he didn't even know that they were there until he recognized a very familiar song because there was not even a bump in traffic.
That's incredible. He should be going down there taking pictures of how many people are in line and not.
He's working right now, so I can't really.
I was being a little sarcastic. No, I'll tell you. You know what's funny is I have a relative who lives in New Mexico, and within about 30 seconds of them announcing that Trump was going to be there this week, I got a text from that person. It's like, Trump is coming to New Mexico this week. Like, it was just announced like a minute ago. So it shows you the difference in excitement on either side of the aisle.
See, this is why you need a zoom lens, Al. We could be getting all kinds of pictures right now if you only had a zoom lens.
But it also goes back to the things that they have to do, like trick people into thinking Beyonce is going to perform, only to not have her perform, but to fill the stadium so they can look like they have some sort of momentum.
They had to know that was going to backfire, though, because I mean, there's like what 5-10 minutes of constant booing to the point where the crowd starts trying to chant Kamala, Kamala, Kamala to try to.
But they got what they wanted, which is the photo op, right at the beginning and this full state. It's a propaganda thing. It's 100%. It's no different than when you see videos out of like Iran of everybody supporting the Ayatollah, and then what you find out later, and what most people know but some people don't, you find out later, is those people were like in their jobs when the Revolutionary Guard came in and rounded them all up and forced them into this park and handed them signs to hold and told them the chair would be shot. Like, yeah. And then they're like, oh, look at all these people supporting. I'm not saying that the Harris people rounded them up and forced them in, but what I'm saying is it's the same mindset of like, you get the after shot and this looks impressive, but then when you go and you dig a little bit, I mean, why do you think that woman was so mad she had to scream at a baby? She got screwed out of a Beyonce concert.
I can't imagine it. I mean, look, I get it, but especially screaming at somebody else's child. What the hell?
I don't know.
That wouldn't have been going over too good if that was my child.
Oh yeah, I think any rational parent,
anything like that, but going after my child like that's uncalled for.
It's all just nuts. So yeah, one of the things that's been blowing up today, and this all happened because of my good friend Aggie Rican, who actually happens to be Puerto Rican. Because I didn't actually hear the jokes because I was doing other stuff. Mm-hmm. So when I saw all the kerfluffle about the jokes today, I was in one of the rooms with her that's not work related, and everybody else was already talking about it. And I said, so what the hell? And she's like, oh, this just means he was over the target. You should Google trash problem in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what now? So I did. And within 5 minutes, I had a thread of like four or five articles and a couple of pictures. So I just started dropping it like on CBS's feed. And then everybody else started picking it up and tagging like AOC in it and everybody else. And somebody just hit it again. And they're like, I'm pretty sure the Puerto Ricans got the joke. The trash problem has been a big deal for a while.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny. Like, that is not a hidden secret. They've been having that issue for a while, but this is also the same Puerto Rico that after the hurricanes held back relief and a whole bunch of other stuff when Trump was the president to make Trump look bad. So,
that's been flying around all day today too. And I'm like, yeah, here's a story that shows that's been debunked. Here's a story that shows that's been debunked. Here's a story that shows that's been debunked.
I've seen so many videos out there of Puerto Ricans, and they're like, number one, we make fun of ourselves all the time. We could take a joke. He's a comedian. Number two, Puerto Rico is full of trash. So what's the issue?
And that's my point, because everybody's like, well, first of all, he's Italian and he was making fun of Muslims and Hispanics and Puerto Ricans and everything else. I didn't see him make a joke about an Italian. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't care.
Well, and it's like the funny part is you have so many comedians on the other side who will dump all over whites, who will dump all over conservatives, who will dump all over religious people. I mean, you look at what's her name there, the D-list moron celebrity with the red hair who's half an idiot, right? She did that whole photo shoot holding a head of a bloody Donald Trump.
Oh, damn it.
Right? And nobody, I know, I can't think of her name either, and it's probably better that way.
Kathy Griffin?
Griffin,
Kathy
yeah.
Griffin.
But nobody, like, I mean, we bitched and moaned, but nothing was ever done. It wasn't this outrage.
Well, according to her, she has PTSD from that, and she lost her career from that. And
she did it to herself.
I know. That's the funny part. She did it to herself, and then she's going to cry about it. But she's saying she has PTSD. I get so sick of hearing that from people. Oh, you had a little upset tummy. Oh, I got PTSD now.
Dude, you don't understand modern psychology. You can stub your toe on a coffee table now and get diagnosed with PTSD from the coffee table.
Well, and as I talked about earlier today, that's because society has created this, right? They've told everyone they're a victim. They told everybody to embrace their emotions all the time, act emotional, be emotional. Don't worry about logic. Don't worry about thinking it through. Don't try to fight through any hardship. Just complain that you're a victim until somebody does something about it. And that's the problem we're seeing.
I need a graphic that says we are here, because that would have been perfect right now. But no. But this goes back to something when we were talking earlier about why they're spending so much time on this comedian routine and comic routine that didn't even go over very well in the venue itself.
Right.
This isn't about them trying to expand their base at this point. They're trying to shore up their base. They're trying to keep their rabid people pissed and not thinking for themselves. That's exactly what this is.
But compared to what that guy, his normal comedy routine, I've watched, what is it?
Me too.
Holy.
Trust me. This was the G-rated version of his routine.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I believe he's gay and he makes fun of gays.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, it was such a watered down version. I think that's why his jokes are actually not landing as well, is because he was trying to write jokes that he doesn't normally tell. Because on his show, it's locker room humor, it's crude, it's bombastic, it's insulting, it's hysterical. It's definitely a different type of humor, and he tried to interject that. And I get, the Trump administration had to say something, because that's just that you have to, right? I mean, you have to address it on some level.
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I don't deal with it.
I don't think most people care.
I have to interrupt everything for just a moment. We've reached a magic number that is contractually required that I play something now.
Giggity, giggity, giggity goo. Stick around.
We
have the perfect number on the feed right now.
Outstanding.
Oh, damn it. As soon as I hit the button, somebody hit it again.
But you know why? You know why they're freaking out? Everyone knows why they're freaking out and why they're jumping all over this. You pointed up earlier. it is their numbers internally are not good. This is out of New Hampshire, folks. The amount of massholes that live in New Hampshire now that brought their politics up is astronomical. And I can say massholes because I am a masshole. I was born and raised there.
Where?
But look at this.
Massachusetts?
Trump plus 0.4. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but
It
Biden,
is for New
yes, Biden carried New Hampshire. Hillary carried New Hampshire. And this tells you, and New Hampshire is not exactly what you would call a large minority state. It's the vast majority of it is white, but there is a ton of liberals that moved into southern New Hampshire from Massachusetts and commute. But this also tells you that change is not just amongst people of color in this country. I think there are a lot of people who are seeing the bullshit and they're sick of it.
Well, I'm going to say it right now.
That's exactly where we are. Go
You
ahead,
need
Joe.
to watch out for New York. I don't know if it's going to flip, but I think it's going to be a lot tighter than the Democrats think.
I'll give you that. I don't think it's going to flip.
Yeah,
I know people are excited.
I know people are really excited, but I will say that, seeing numbers like this coming out of New Hampshire to the point where some of the people that I know that have been doing this for a long time are like, if these numbers hold, this is going to be a really early night.
Yeah. Well, and Joe, I'm with you in the fact that I think New York is going to have much different numbers than we've seen in a long time for New York. I think it's going to be, like I said, I don't think it's going to go red, but I think same thing with California. California early returns are showing a huge influx and increase in conservative Republican votes. So I'm not saying
an early return yet that the Republicans aren't leading.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean we're winning, but it's a good visual for the future.
Well, so one of my concerns has been, and that's been assuaged for me a little bit today. And again, disclaimer: don't take your foot off the gas.
No,
no.
Just don't do it. If you haven't voted yet, vote early. Bank your vote. Drag 10 friends with you when you do vote. Go have them drag 10 more friends with them after they vote. Let's
Rick, let me jump in real quick. As Donald Trump Jr. stole my line, what was it? Sunday at MSG. Vote like you're the third monkey on Noah's Ark's ramp, and brother, it's starting to rain out.
Yeah,
He
I
stole
heard
that from me the other night.
Buck and Clay used it today too. I was dying. But yeah, no, I mean, so here's the thing though. People that have been doing this for a lot longer than me are starting to look at all these numbers. I mean, Real Clear Politics has him up in the swing state average for the first time in 2 months.
Yep.
I mean, to get to this point, we're talking about a 10-point swing in the other way, and within the last just few weeks.
3% lead on the popular vote.
I mean, that's just insane to even think about. But here's the part that nobody talks about. Donald Trump always underperforms the polling. Always. So either they've tried to get it closer to what they think it's going to be this time, or they're just still underperforming. Because if you go look, you still can't find the crosstab data very well anymore. It used to be really easy to find. You just scroll down a little bit, you click on the crosstabs, and you go look, and it shows you the amount of the sample, the percentage of who it was that they sampled. Most of that stuff, you can't find it anymore. But you know why you can't find it anymore? Because they were getting busted doing 8, 9, 10, 20% D. They're like 20 to 1.
And if they're not showing it, that's screaming exactly what they're doing, that they're oversampling. And I've been saying that since Harris got in this and she was up there at polls. I was looking at the data and going, she's getting oversampled. Major.
Well, you know, the first time that I knew that something was up was because at first, and there was a few weeks where they were showing the sample data. So after the swap, it was pretty much the same. It was about a 3% margin for error. Sample rate was about the same. And then all of a sudden I saw Fox News putting out a poll with a ±7. I'm like, who the fuck does a poll with ±7? So I went and found the data. It took me an hour to find it. And in that poll, they were sampling D plus 10 to even get her within the margin of error.
Yeah, I was going to say
±7. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Now, what I'm worried about, I'm not certain 100% he's going to win. I never feel that, but I'm pretty sure he's going to win. But what scares me now is the lawsuits that they already got lined up to challenge his win. Congress, the Democrats talking they're not going to certify the election underneath, what is it, the 14th Amendment, that bullshit, the insurrection shit that he was already found guilty on, or excuse me, innocent on. And then the lawsuits that they're already setting up for any policy. They're the party of obstruction anymore. And they've been for a while now. But they're announcing they already have 90 lawsuits lined up to go against Trump.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not shocked by that. But the problem is having lawsuits lined up and having lawsuits that actually have the ability to go somewhere is two entirely different things. You know,
I agree, but it's still the fact that
they overplayed. Look, they know they're not going to be able to pull the Russia this time. They know they can't pull any of that shit that they pulled last time because people are seeing through it. Yeah. You can tell by the numbers of votes that people are seeing through it.
They're going to try. They're still trying the Nazi shit, the fascist shit.
Right. They're going to try the lawfare stuff. But even that, you know, it's.
Yeah,
it's going to be like a flea bother at that point.
What it comes down to is what Republicans are going to turn their back on the Republican Party and the conservative people and back the Democrat Party.
Well, you gotta look at these numbers, and if things keep going in the direction we think they're going to go, and it's going to be staggering, those people will have to fly right because they realize that they will be left in the wash. Because if he's pulling the numbers that it looks like he's pulling, they're going to have no choice but be supportive or be Liz Cheney.
I think some of them are dumb enough that they would do that to themselves.
Well, the one thing that I will say, something that surprised me today, it was an interesting enough flair for me when Bezos basically sent out a directive that they weren't endorsing. But now I've seen today where Bezos is telling his editorial board and the managing editors that they need to bring in more conservative voices.
There's another paper, I think it's USA Today or something like that, came out and said they're not endorsing either.
I hadn't seen that one, but I mean,
USA Today, it just dropped.
Okay, I was right on the paper though.
It just dropped in the last hour or so.
Or something like that. Yeah, they're not endorsing any, and that's like 4 major papers that normally endorse that aren't endorsing. My question is, all these liberals that are crying they're canceling the Washington Post subscription, are they canceling Amazon too?
Oh, of course not.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, no.
They couldn't live without Amazon, bro.
It's sort of going like the people that want to shut down drilling and everything. Well, you're going to give up your house, your clothes, your medicine, your phones, your everything in life comes from oil being drilled. There's some kind of byproduct that's used in making everything.
Everything. Yeah. Everything has oil in it. Every piece of plastic is made from petroleum. Like it's,
medical. Vaseline. That is a byproduct from drilling. There's a lot of medical stuff that comes from it too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about that though. But
yeah. Sorry, I'm arguing with somebody on X right now.
Pay attention, man.
I can't help it.
We're on a show. Pay attention.
It was somebody's responding to one of the posts I made about the lawsuit against Elon of Philadelphia. And I said, it's amazing how they never mention George Soros or Bill Gates this year. They always mention Elon. Somebody responded, well, Soros is only worth $7 billion. Elon's worth 275. They're not even in the same league. Don't be naive. Well, how much? This is the first year that Elon's put money in. How much money has Soros put in over the years?
Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Whoa.
All right. So to show everybody here, these are the latest averages from Real Clear Politics. National average has Trump up by plus 0.2. Battlegrounds has him up by plus 0.9.
That's insane.
Yeah.
The electoral map with no toss-ups has him winning 312, which puts him right in the ballpark we were talking about just the other day.
Now, I don't know if you guys touched on it. One of the things that has me kind of not so much agita going on with this election right now is Kamala canceling all of her events and stopping. She's not doing as much campaigning
Yeah, I don't. So I've heard.
Wait, when did that happen? Because I've heard rumors, but I haven't seen it officially announced.
Exactly.
Last week, she canceled a bunch of events. It was before the CNN. They're condensing what she's doing. She's not out as much.
Well, I think I just found a reason why she's not out as much.
Herpes?
Possibly.
Sorry, man.
Dope. This. Hold on. Approve it.
Hang
Because
on.
when she's out.
You gotta hit it again because I missed it.
No.
When she's out, she.
Da.
There we go. Hang on.
It's funny when people go on other people's shows and they say stuff. All right. This is why she's not as exposed.
Oh, I know.
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us.
She is the most insufferable human being who does not understand how to control a party, a group, nothing. You're part of these things is you have to be able to lead the crowd where you want them to go. And she stops them and goes, now shout your own name.
I thought you were going to play the, she got booed at 2 of her rallies recently.
Wait,
yeah, but a lot of those, there was one of those boos. I watched the whole video. They were booing down somebody who was shouting, against her.
You know that.
The one in Houston when
because they were pissed because
that's the one where they were booing the activity they were. But the other one, there's another one I just saw where if you watch the extended version, they were booing down somebody who's yelling in the crowd, which is fine. Look, I don't expect people to wait in line for a couple of hours to go see Kamala really boo her that much, except
the Beyonce concert. That's it.
That's the one where I could see why they were pissed, but those are people who aren't there to see Kamala Harris. They're there to see Beyonce Knowles.
Well, this was like the beginning of the campaign, right? And this is what had all the conservatives and all the Republicans were like having kittens because they were like, all of a sudden, all the energy from our convention was gone, and there was this ticket swap that nobody was really expecting, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's just a foregone conclusion. Look at all these people and how excited they are." I'm like, you remember how excited they were about her in 2019, right? Or not 2019? Was it 20? Yeah, I guess it was 2019. Because she lasted like 2 months.
Yep.
Same as here. She's on the same trajectory with about the same exact amount of time because it was 2 months into the campaigns really starting in earnest and she flamed out. And this time, I think she would have burned out even faster if not for the media continuing to try to push her and push her and push her.
I'll tell you, and this is one of those things that it gives me question as to whether or not this wasn't always the plan, is because I wonder if they intentionally waited so she had minimal exposure because she's that bad.
Because they're going to be able to pull a basement on her with her. And the people are going to buy it again.
This was this was Obama wanting his 4th term, and he saw it slipping away with Joe Biden because Obama's been one of the ones pulling the lever for Joe Biden the entire time. Obama was going to be one of the ones working behind the scenes with Hillary Clinton. That's why they started pushing the idea, even back when she was running, well, you're not really voting for a person. You're voting for the group of people that they surround themselves with because they'll be the ones making a lot of the decisions. I'm like, no, I'm voting for a chief executive of the fucking country. That's who I'm voting for. And I want somebody that knows what the hell they're doing and will be in the room fighting for me, not fighting for other countries.
But also Obama's lost his swab, I guess would be the best way to put it.
He's lost all of his stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't have the command of the people that he used to.
Yep. He just, and what it is when he first came on the scene, nobody knew who he was, and he had this persona. The problem is, after years of being in the spotlight, people start to know who you are, and that persona just naturally drops because people start knowing your BS, and they start knowing this and that and the other thing. And the other big hit to Obama is he did nothing for the black community.
Nope.
Biden's done nothing for the black community, and we're seeing that with how the black community is not supporting Harris this time around. When Obama has to come out and say, "You got to get the brothers to vote," quote unquote. And I know, like, this is chauvinistic or misogynistic that they're not voting for it. Why would you want to vote for that? It's like the Puerto Ricans being told they should be mad over the joke. Why would you want to vote for that? Because all they're saying is you are too stupid to make up your own mind, and I'm telling you what you should be doing.
And I think that's the biggest thing that you're seeing. And the person that I credit most with this movement finally coming out of the shadows, Elon fucking Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's the one that's basically told everybody it is okay for you to publicly support Donald Trump.
Yes.
Look at all the bullshit problems they were having over the weekend with the dude after the football game that had the MAGA hat on during his camera shots.
Oh, Bosa.
And they're like, what the fuck is this? If they don't treat this the same way that they treated Kaepernick, then this all just proves the NFL's always been racist. I'm like, dude, Kaepernick was on his way to either be benched or traded. This was nothing. This was not a political statement for him. It was a hopes to save his career.
Right.
Because he went from the 200th most popular jersey in the store to like the 25th within a week of that bullshit.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now too, with the whole thing with Kaepernick having lived in California and how Niners fans felt about him prior to the knee, they were pissed at him. They thought he was garbage. They wanted to get rid of him. So that was 100%.
He still had another year on contract, and he turned it down.
Yeah, well, he wanted more. He thought.
I know, but I'm saying he had a contract, and he's the one that did away with it. He did it to himself. He screwed himself. But I saw shit. I just had his name. Hold on 1 second. Van Jones from CNN.
Yeah.
A video with him, and he was talking. He said that what the party has to stop doing is they're bashing the whites, they're bashing the males, they're bashing this, and then they get upset when they walk away from the party. He goes, "We got to stop bashing our own and go back to being a welcoming party."
Yeah,
and they don't know how anymore.
No.
Yeah. Well,
that was a big shift with Obama. I mean, that was his whole shtick. Yep. And they ran with it, but and it worked for about 4 years. It really started changing after the whole, and by that time it was pretty much too late. But after you heard him on tape talking with Russia, saying, "Well, after this election, I'll have more flexibility," that's when a lot of people started waking the fuck up. Yep. It took a minute, but people started waking up, and that's part of the reason why we wound up with Trump.
I admit this, I didn't vote for Obama, but his inauguration, I sat on the back porch with my parents, and we were listening to a speech, and we were going, "Holy shit, this president might actually do something." Listen to what he was talking. We kind of bought into it. We were like, "Holy shit, listen to what this guy's saying." But as time went on, we started paying attention, and then Benghazi happened. That's when my father flipped the switch. When they left those guys in Benghazi, my dad was Coast Guard. And he was like, "You do not leave your guys behind." He goes, "That told me everything about Obama." And that was done. My dad became a Republican right then and there.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead. And I'll finish.
No, I was just going to say the whole thing with the whole thing that you have to remember too is that race baiting and that us versus them mentality, they were getting so high on their own brand on that for so long that they didn't realize they had to keep pumping more and more and more into them in order to get people to the same level of aggravated. They had to up the dosage. And the other thing that happens too is a lot of people of color, especially, I know, I have plenty of friends who are black who were embarrassed by the race riots and the BLM riots.
That's what a racist says. I have black friends.
No, I know, but they were embarrassed by it. Because they know that, like, that's not our community. That's a group of animals who are pissed off or feigned pissed off and look for a reason to riot. Right? They know that even if they had their grievances, that's not how they want to express them. And so all of that stuff built up over the course of years, and then it stopped being effective. And that's where we are now.
All right, guys, I got to get going because I got my show starting in 4 minutes.
Joe, have a good show, my friend.
Talk to you guys later.
All right. Have a great show, man. But yeah, back to what I was saying a second ago. Have you ever heard the story from Seb Gorka about the time that he took a bunch of military trainees to the White House?
I have not.
So Seb Gorka, who actually used to train military before he got a position in the Trump cabinet, was talking about the time that he managed to get a bunch of trainees to go into the White House. So
Mhm.
it was one of those things supposed to be 15 minutes long. Of course, Trump was late because there's a bunch of stuff going on. So he's like, I don't care. We're going to hang out with him anyway. Apparently, they were in there for almost an hour just talking. And Trump, being Trump, says, which one of you is the baddest motherfucker in here? Which one of you could just take the rest of it? So, and Seb was like, that instant, they just all just gelled because he was talking like he was one of them. And that is a talent that Trump has, and I've seen it. He has the ability to read a room and connect on levels that politicians don't normally do. And that's why they're so terrified of him. Because when people realize that he actually does like them, even if it is just in that moment, then it's enough to connect with him. But the whole thing is, after this whole thing, I mean, he's got, like the whole handlers from Kamala been doing this to him for like 20 minutes. And he's just like, hey, these people are putting their lives on the line for us. I think I can spend a few more minutes with them. And then, so the actual instructor of the group pulls Seb aside afterwards. And he says, you have no idea what you just done. He said, what do you mean? He said, while Obama was in office, we couldn't get in to see him.
Mhm.
Ever.
Not shocked.
You have no idea what a difference you've just made for these people. And that story, I mean, honestly, I just heard that one about a month ago, and it floored me because these are the people that are in the room with him talking about how personable he is. I
Mhm.
know a guy here who does local radio. His wife was the chair of the campaign here in Oklahoma in 2016, and she's never said a bad thing about him. Not one.
Yeah.
So hearing all these things from people that actually knew him, and of course I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But
Nobody
the
said
more
anything bad about Trump until he started to run for president.
But the more I've seen of him, the more I realized he's never changed.
Nope.
If you go back and you watch the interview from The View in 2011, he's saying the same things then, and they were eating them up.
The Oprah interview in the 90s, right? It was the same thing. He hasn't changed. That actually is a really good point. I'm glad you said that. Most politicians, like Obama, lose their step because they change, or people see them for who they really are. Trump came into this for who he really was. You remember with Obama, he was a 2-year nobody senator. Nobody knew who he was when he started running. So they were able to create this identity of who he was, right? And feed that fresh to people, the fresh meal. I think they call it in politics in those situations. He was the fresh meal. And now people know who he is, and that just doesn't carry the same way. And they're going to have to figure out something quick, because if this election keeps going the way it looks like it might keep going, I think they're in a lot more trouble than they're even. Like when Van Jones is saying you need to change direction.
Yeah. When the commie is telling you to stop using the communist playbook.
Yep. And Van Jones was in the Obama White House.
I mean, that's just it. This whole divisive tactic that's straight from the communist playbook.
Yep. 100%.
And that's the point. It worked for so long that they thought they were just going to be able to keep using it until they were able to drive us into the ground. And it's not working anymore. That's
yeah.
That's like somebody today called me a Nazi. I just Sieg Heil, motherfucker. Now what?
Well, and I think the average human being just gets sick and tired of told they should hate this person because of X, Y, and Z. I think when you break that down on just a human level, more and more people are saying, wait a minute, why am I supposed to hate the person who lives across the street from me because they have a different sign in the front yard? And I said this on my show today. You'll notice they go after Trump's personality more than they do on his policies. And Trump goes after Kamala's policies more than he does her personality, because that's all they have with him is personality. And yeah, sometimes he's an asshole. Like, that's just, whether you like him or not, that's just who he is.
And you know what? And I've come to this conclusion. If there's going to be an asshole on my team, that's the asshole that I want in the rooms that I can't be in.
Yeah. I don't think that he is. I say there's a lot of layers to Donald Trump. You see, there's the business persona, there's the politics persona. He knows how you say, like, read the room. He also knows how to adapt to the situation. I said yesterday, and I truly believe this. You look at how he is with Elon Musk, right? You can tell, and I know everyone will say, oh, it's because he's giving him a whole bunch of money. The money's already there, so he doesn't have to do anything now. But I legitimately think coming from a business background where engineering was a big part of his life for all the buildings and how to build and all that stuff. I think he generally adores Elon Musk as a person. He talks about him like he's his own son. When he's calling him 4 minutes after SpaceX caught the rocket, to congratulate him and everything, that's like a fatherly excitement. And maybe it is just because it's good for publicity or whatever, but if you watch yesterday, I don't think so. If you watch yesterday how he actually spoke about him, it's authentic. And that's the thing that they hate the most about Trump is he's always authentic, like him or hate him. He's not a persona. That is the person. He's been that person for years.
The one thing that I will say, and I think one of the things that may have endeared Elon to him was that moment when Elon got on stage and he was so excited he just started jumping around like
I think it was before that, because if you look at,
I may have sealed the deal though, because there was just an exuberance there that Trump fed off of.
Well, but I also think too with Trump, like Trump's one of those people that if you're able to build a widget and you build the best widget in the world, he respects that. He respects people who are good at their craft. And when it's a major feat, I think like Elon's been doing, I think that's something that he relates to on a business level because he has built so much. So I think that's where that adoration comes from and how hard Elon, look, it's not hard to know how hard Elon Musk works, right? You start seeing him, he's already up in the morning on X tweeting and talking about all the things that he's doing all day, and he's still up after he goes to bed. Trump's the same way. He's a 4-hour night sleep guy. So I think he just sees a lot of himself in Elon in a business perspective and as a hard worker, and he appreciates hard work.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, and unfortunately, I have discovered that those are the people that get things done, or the ones that have figured out that I can survive on just this much sleep, and I'm going to kick ass and take names till I get there. But again, this goes back to something that I've been trying to tell everybody for the longest time. The definition of the American dream that has been foisted upon everybody through our education system is not what the American dream was ever supposed to be.
Right.
This whole idea of you work 40 hours a week and you make all the money that you want, you get a nice house, you get a nice car, you get a wife and a car and 2.5 kids and all that stuff. That's never really actually been a thing. At least not after they got things started with the feminist movement, which I'm still convinced was a psyop, because before the feminist movement, women could stay home with the kids, men could work, and everybody's bills could still be paid. But then all of a sudden they were like, well, if we get the women out of the house, we get to double, if not 2.5, our tax base.
Well, and women could work back then. It wasn't like they couldn't. I mean, they somehow tie into the fact that like what women do on a more regular basis, CEOs and stuff like that, wouldn't have come along if it wasn't for the feminist movement. I disagree with that. I think that at some point, once Rosie the Riveter entered into the warehouse, I think a different level of respect and understanding was had of like, oh, okay. And granted, this is, a long time ago, people had a different mindset. Like it was just a different mindset, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I think as time progressed, you were going to naturally see women with, going to college and taking a business life and all that stuff. I don't think that was going to be stymied one way or the other. I think it would have been a natural progression either way. Like I said,
what I do think though is if the government hadn't again started picking winners and losers, then it.
Oh no! Look. Anytime the government gets involved in anything, it's all bullshit, right? I mean, that's what. Let's talk about that more. How many times does the government pick winners and losers and pit people against each other and find new and exciting ways to get money out of taxpayers? That's their whole existence has been for years.
Yeah. As soon as they could figure out that, hey, we can just get into their pockets now because we've convinced them that it's best for us to do that. I mean, I'm a firm believer at this point, and I heard Trump say this the other day, and I was ecstatic when he started talking about we should just go back to using tariffs and bonds to pay for all of our shit.
Yes,
because that's what we used to do. And I'm like, where do I sign?
Yes, I'm here for it. Let's go. I'm ready for it. I think that would be amazing. And yeah, you know what? there's going to be a national sales tax. It might be higher than it is right now. Yada yada. It's a consumption tax, is what it becomes, right? But
I mean, if there's going to be taxation at all, that's the fairest way to do it, because then the
Right.
more money you spend, the more taxes you pay.
Yeah, nobody argues that we need certain services. You need fire department, you need police, the roads have to be, in order, et cetera, et cetera. You're still going to pay state and local taxes, but the idea that your taxes come from the majority of your taxes being spent is what you decide to spend it on, then that choice is yours through a consumption tax. I'm a flat tax person. I think everyone should pay a flat percentage. At the beginning of the year and the end of the year what you're going to pay, whatever. If you're going to have a tax, that's the most even way. That way, everybody has skin in the game, top to bottom, no questions asked. There's no cuts. There's no blah 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 blah. But if you're going to get rid of taxes, then bonds and tariffs. Let's send it. Let's go. Let's do it.
Well, all I'm going to say about taxes is if we're going to have any kind of a tax at all, if 10% is good enough for God, 10% is good enough for these motherfuckers.
Well, and like I said, it does not mean that state and local taxes are going to go away. I had this conversation this morning. The state and local taxes are still going to be there. He's talking at a federal level. It's still going to happen. But if you choose to buy an $85,000 car and you pay whatever the tax rate is on it, right? Then you pay that taxes because of what you bought. But if you choose to buy a $30,000 car, then you're paying much less taxes, and it's your choice. Unlike now, where you're just being forced constantly to pay a ridiculous amount of taxes that most people see zero return on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, if the thing about it is, and this is one of the things that I love from the liberals is, well, if you look at the 70s and the 80s, we were actually paying more taxes then. I'm like, no, if you add up all the things that they don't call a tax anymore that are technically a tax, then I mean, we're literally living off of 25% of what we make by the time we're done. And that's just insane to me.
Well, you look at cost of living and how it's outpaced, or how inflation's outpaced it by and large. You look at the amount of look at the gas, right? I live in California. You have the state, you have the local, you have the environmental tax, blah 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 blah. You're paying almost $1.50 a gallon in taxes, just in taxes that go back to the state, right? So the amount that you pay is far outpacing the amount that we're making. I mean, that's just the way it is. When you go back to the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s, you could buy a home making $20,000 a year. And I get inflation, you adjust for inflation, but you could buy a nice home with a picket fence and yada, yada, yada. And it was affordable on a single income. And that is gone grossly out of whack. And before everyone says, well, that's crony capitalism. There's some crony businesses out there. Absolutely. Go to a hospital. That's a crony business. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it is. Hospitals absolutely are crony businesses. They charge astronomical amounts of money for things that are very, very cheap. But don't sit there and look at the farmers, and people like, oh, the farmers are charging too much, grocery stores charge too much. No, grocery stores have a 1% to 3% markup depending on where you are. The fuel cost increase, transportation increase alone, never mind that you now have trucks that have to move this stuff that cost $150,000 just for a new single rig, not the trailer, the cab, $150K. Just to move the goods. That money has to come from somewhere. It's not just taken at a loss. So you've made everything ridiculously expensive, and then you wonder why it's so expensive. It's mind-boggling. It's just annoying.
Well, I mean, and part of it is, it's like with the charging stations, right? That they've supposedly spent these billions and billions of dollars on. And it turns out that while they've spent a lot of the money, they haven't been able to do anything because they continue to have all these requirements that you have to have a certain DEI score to be able to get the contract. You have to have this, you have to have that. So they've spent $7-point-something billion on like 7 charging stations.
Yes.
So that's insane.
And that's what happens when you have all of these extra requirements. Instead of just saying, hey, the best person for the job gets it, it is, Oh, well, look at California. Another great example is the bullet train that they were trying to run here, right? It's billions of dollars over budget. We don't even have a bridge. Like, it's just a shit show. They just appointed some guy as the new head of it, whatever. But because they have so many hands in the pockets of that project, taxpayer money, that it ain't getting built, but the money keeps getting spent. And they have all of these different over the top regulations and yada, yada, yada. It was doomed from the beginning. Never mind the fact that nobody wants to go to Bakersfield. Nobody wants to go there.
Every time anybody starts talking about the bullet train in California, because Orty brings it up from time to time, all I keep hearing is the monorail song from The Simpsons.
Monorail? Oh, no, it's 100%. 100% what it was. And, somebody was talking about, how at some point they want to actually, which we can't do it, but they wanted to fix rail in this country, because if you go to other countries outside of North America, the rail system is actually pretty effective in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And the reason it's not effective here is the way most of our older cities started. Roads and stuff like that came from cow trails, horse trails, and they just expanded them on it. So they're not straight lines. It was going around stuff. It was, so you're never going to get a straight line unless you start emanating domain, a ton of houses and stuff, which though you can't, and I don't think you should, don't get me wrong, but legally that fight would be lost in a second. And you look at Amtrak. Amtrak is gross. It is not a pleasant experience. It is insanely expensive, and it's government subsidized. Like, it's a complete waste of money, and it's slow. I'll tell you, I was looking, because I'm one of those people, like, you have a little checklist of things you want to do before you die. I'm like, I'd love to take the train across the country just to see the country, right? I'd really like to enjoy that. As you start to get older, you appreciate things different. And I looked to get a little roomette to go from here to Chicago was like $2,800. Who the hell can afford that? It's not like back in the day where trains were cheap and it was the only way to go. But I could fly from Sacramento to Chicago for $300. And that's still ridiculously expensive, but I'm there in fucking 4 hours, 3 hours.
Well, yeah, you're flying Ford though, so it's closer to about 5 on the clock.
Yeah, but it's just ridiculous. And you wonder why nobody's taking Amtrak. And then when you get on it, I've taken it a few times locally. When you get on it, it's disgusting. It's horrible. The food's terrible. Everything's overly priced. So how are you going to afford to be on that train for 3 or 4 days?
So wait, you're telling me, so just to see if I'm understanding this correctly, the $2,600, does that include meal service or no?
I think it may have included a meal, like a meal. So you may get breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay, I'm just checking, because I figured for the short trips they don't include.
Yeah, you have the little dinette card, but have you seen how expensive that shit is?
No, I've never. I used to fly a lot, but I've never been on a train.
But it's insane. Like, good system. And if you want to really fix it and you really want to make it a good system, I'm for it, because I think people should. I think one of the things that people lose the most in this country is they don't appreciate this country for the beauty that it is. Like, they don't travel coast to coast. Planes have taken road trips out of popularity, which road trips are, in my opinion, like one of the coolest things that you can do to learn to appreciate this country. You go to these little towns that you've never been to before, and you just see a way of life that you haven't been in, and helps you appreciate it. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody wants to sit with their family for 2 days on a train and just spend time with them, right? And even if they do, they're all going to be like this.
They're all going to be on their screens, got their earbuds, everything else. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that was one of the things that helped me kind of, even as a kid, start appreciating the country, because we moved from Oklahoma to Seattle, and in the trip over, we did it by car.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we were like stopping at the Grand Canyon and everything. And I mean, I saw things that I'd never seen before, and I was like, dude, I had no idea this country was this pretty. Like the redwoods fucking blew my mind. blew my mind. Now, granted,
Gorgeous.
this was 40 years ago.
Mhm.
So, I don't know what they look like now.
No, they're
But
still gorgeous.
but
Well,
I
and
just
yeah,
but that's
I'm
like
with you.
and then we moved to Seattle, and I mean, I'd never seen mountains before. I mean, the closest thing we have to mountains here would be considered molehills by people that actually have mountains. And then it was like green all the time there. Like, well, it was just weird for
Yep.
me. And one of the things I used to get made fun of all the time because coming from the plains, you can smell when the air quality changes when it's about to rain. And everybody used to make fun of me because I'd be like, "Oh, we need to go inside because it's about to rain." There's like, "No, there's no fucking way you know that it's about to rain." And within 10 minutes, it'd be raining. I'd be like, "I
No,
told you."
what's funny is in the Northeast, or growing up in Boston, it was the same thing. You can smell the rain about 5 minutes before it hits. It was just and somebody actually explained there's a science behind it. It has to do with the amount of like increase in humidity, causing scents to come up, whatever. But yeah, it's moving across this country. Like I was traveling the East Coast like crazy, some in the Midwest every summer, all the time in the summer, right? And then when I was 20, I don't know, 24 or something like that, was the first time I drove full cross country. I'd been to Texas, I'd been halfway across the country, Chicago, whatever. But I drove all the way to the West Coast. And then I've driven back and forth 6 times now, something like that. And I go a different way each time so I can actually make sure I get to see as much as I can. The only way I haven't gone is the full I-90 from Seattle all the way into Boston. That's the only one I haven't done yet, which is on my list of things to do. I've cut in and out of it, but I haven't done the full trip.
Oh, sorry. I just saw something that I kind of think we need to talk about. Hang on. Hang on. Because apparently something happened in Chicago today.
What?
Yeah, hang on. And where are you? So this is from PJ Media. Apparently, in Chicago, a man screaming "Allah Akbar" opened fire on a Jewish man. I did not see this earlier. So there's a video. So I have not streamed this. So if there's any kids watching, you may want to turn them away for a moment. See, apparently that was a shooting that happened while someone was yelling "Allahu Akbar." And
So, and I believe they said he's from North Africa. He is only been here about a year, and this is just what I've gathered from different reports. He shot at an individual entering a synagogue when he yelled "Allahu Akbar," and then as first responders were arriving, he shot at the ambulance, and then there's another video of a Chicago police officer actually eliminating the threat. You see him, he takes up grabs some concealment as the guy was coming down the street, and the suspect, the terrorist, whatever you want to talk, we don't know, we don't know everything yet, but he trained this line of fire across the street, and
you know the answer to that question.
well, yeah, but is it religious or political? Because it's different when it comes to being technically classified. I know what we see as terrorism, but usually when I talk about stuff like this, I like to be very specific given my background. So, but the trade-off to that is the guy was coming down the street. Chicago cop got up on the porch, took a position of concealment, started to engage the suspect. For whatever reason, the suspect's attention got off to his right, and he was looking across the street. I don't know if he thought he was being engaged from across the street, but then the Chicago officer was able to finally eliminate the threat. But yeah, no major news about that.
Yeah.
I had to piece that together from like 5 different stories.
Well, because it doesn't fit the narrative anymore.
Well, it's just before an election, right? Imagine if a Jewish man was killed by an Islamist in Chicago who came over the border illegally 8 days before an election.
It's absolutely nuts, man.
And so it went nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And PJ Media and other smaller outlets are the only ones carrying it. I haven't seen it on any major, and I could be wrong. I haven't seen it on any major outlets.
Hey, PJ Media is not a smaller outfit.
Well, you know what I mean.
I'm just teasing.
Okay. Before you
'Cause
make
I
me
work-
get defensive about it.
I work with Town Hall, so I have to defend them.
No. So when I say smaller, it's more of a compliment, actually. They're not part of the grotesque, disgusting media that we have in this country. That is slowly starting to be usurped, which is nice.
Yeah, I still find it funny that fucking Bezos is like, yeah, we need more conservative op-ed writers.
He sees the writing on the wall. He sees the support that Elon Musk is getting, and he sees the support X is getting. He sees the writing on the wall. I don't think this is a personal decision for him. I think this is strictly business. He knows how to make money. Bezos is not a dumb man, and he's going to shift in order to make that money. And he's going to lose, they said, I saw it today, it was like, 20,000 people have already canceled it or something like that. Maybe it might have been more. But he'll gain more if he actually starts putting out pretty leveled news, or at least some version of leveled news.
Yeah. Funny about that, Raptor. Booty Judge just said that again today. Crime is down.
It's not.
It's not.
And the fact that they're still making that, and this tells you what lying dirtbags politicians are. The fact that even after the FBI has realigned the 2022 crime stats and it showed a 4.3 increase in crime, including violent crime, and they're still saying it's the same as the very fine people thing. They'll just keep regurgitating whatever BS they can to try and prove their point. And they're just liars at this point. Everyone knows they're just liars.
Lying liars.
And they can't give it up. They can't get off that heroin. It's the craziest thing. I don't understand how they didn't write themselves well before Harris entered the race, because the numbers were already, the amount of support Biden had after the first 6 months of his presidency was through the floor. They had to realize that something had to change, and they just, nope, we're just going to run this out. We're just going to keep going and see what the hell happens.
Well, I mean, and the bad thing is, if they hadn't pulled him, they still may have managed to pull it off, because now he's popular again.
Yeah.
Compared to her.
I'll tell you right now, I really, really think there's a lot of people high up in the Democratic Party who are, and I'm 100% sure, that are wishing they chose differently. I think they wish they had told her she was off the ballot a couple months earlier, so they could have just plopped somebody in. Because I'll tell you right now, if they kept Biden, or even if they ran somebody like a Shapiro, this would be a much different race. Because even though Shapiro's a leftist and a progressive, he knows how to give a message a lot better.
Yeah, Shapiro I put more in line with Fetterman 2.0.
Mm-hmm. New Fetterman. Well, they're going to be like that more and more, because they see the numbers coming out of this campaign and this election right now. They see the way it's going. They see what's not working. Look, I said, I wish all the politicians could have the stroke awakening like Fetterman has. But I think one of the things that to Fetterman's credit is he's always kind of been bombastic and loud and kind of says things straightforward from his perspective. I may not agree, but he doesn't do the political two-step all the time. He has a tendency to just be blunt, and people respond to that. And the trade-off to that is it's going to force other people to be blunt. I really think it will be. And that's not a bad thing. We talk about the left. I say it all the time. BZ said it. I know other people have said it. I don't agree with a goddamn word that comes out of Bernie Sanders' mouth about policy, but I respect the fact that he's never changed who he was.
I mean, I will say that I do not like any of that man's policies, but I respect him for always being
himself. Yeah, he's always Bernie. You always get Bernie. He's kind of like Trump in that sense too, right? We were talking about that earlier with Trump. Fetterman is kind of that same person where you're always getting the version of Fetterman. Do you like that version of Fetterman? No, not really. But you're still getting that version of Fetterman. I can respect that even if I hate it.
I mean, I have to admit there are times that it's usually with Israel, but there are more and more times that I find myself agreeing with him. And I've just and I said this the other day, and I'm thinking because right before the debate, I put out a video on TikTok that had a clip from Yellowstone. And it was one of the scenes where dudes being taken to the train station. And I put a caption on it that said, Dems to Joe Biden, let's go for a ride.
Right.
And then the dude says, where are we going? Train station. And that's the end of it. I've actually thought about redoing it with Fetterman because I'm just waiting for the day that they just finally decide they've had enough of him bucking the party.
Yeah, and I don't know if they will. I think that I think that he's smart enough. I've never said he was super intelligent because I don't think he was super intelligent, but I think that's what works for him, right? I think the fact that he's kind of an everyday like dude for the most part, even if he's a little weird at times, like he seems like a guy who you'd actually end up sitting next to in a bar, and that goes a long way with people. And he's been more honest than any of them have, and he's going to have that to rely on. Like he's going to be able to fall on everything he's saying right now, fall back on it in the future.
Yeah, Raptor makes a good point. Bernie believes what he says. As stupid as that is, he believes it.
Oh no, he's a true believer. I'm with Raptor on that. Absolute true believer, 100%, no questions asked.
Oh, all right, man. I know you came and hang out with me instead of doing dinner, so I'm going to kick you loose.
Yeah, I got to start cooking. It's been a while since I ate, and we don't want anyone to be cranky.
I mean, you're not cranky now?
Oh, I'm always cranky, but it gets worse.
Yeah.
So much worse. All right, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks for hanging out. All right, folks, we're going to take a short break, come back, finish things out, and then we'll be joining, we'll actually be running the Reaver of Common Sense afterwards. We've got about 30 minutes left, so I'm going to take a quick break, go grab myself something to drink, because it's been about 90 minutes since I've taken a sip of anything. And we'll see you guys on the other side of this one. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This Halloween season, prepare for thrills, chills, and everything in between. It's Vamptober on KLRN Radio. All October long, your favorite KLRN shows are taking a walk on the dark side. Dive into bone-chilling stories, uncover creepy science, and explore the paranormal with our special vampire-themed episodes. Don't miss a moment of the fright-filled fun. Tune in all month long for Vamptober. Only on KLRN Radio.
I'm Noble McIntyre of McIntyre Law, and I've been representing injured Oklahomans and their families for almost 30 years. At our firm, we've handled hundreds of crashes involving semis. They are huge vehicles, and when fully loaded, can weigh as much as 80,000 pounds. Most semi drivers are careful and professional drivers, but some big truck drivers and the companies they drive for are dangerous, and I've personally seen the devastating effects on families. If you or a loved one has been affected by a semi crash, contact us at 405-777-7000 or McIntyreLaw.com. We will fight for you.
Achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell and save 10 cents per gallon on every fill. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your closest Shell, so make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
It's back to school season for the kiddos, which means it's the perfect time to get your vacay on. Beaches are empty, resorts are quiet, and Cheap Caribbean Vacations has fall vacay deals up to, wait for it, 45% off.
Plus, you can score more site-wide savings and take an extra $50 off your booking now through September 5th. Take this as your sign to pencil in a vacay this fall and turn back to school season into back to beach season.
Go to cheapcaribbean.com to find your next all-inclusive vacay. Offer ends September 5th.
You can achieve platinum status in the Fuel Rewards program at Shell twice as fast by filling up 6 times with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Right now, you're less than 5 miles away from your your closest Shell. So make a pit stop this afternoon and fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Click the screen now to learn more about Platinum status and the Fuel Rewards program, or download the Shell app today. Platinum status is earned with 12 fill-ups over 3 months, 10-gallon minimum per fill-up at participating Shell locations. Terms apply. Visit www.fuelrewards.com/status.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Hand on the Bible, I'm a decent man. No, I ain't perfect, but I'm learning how to be the best I can. But I got demons collecting dust, and I buried them so damn far down so they can't find their way back up. So don't mistake my kindness for weakness, cause I can flip that switch and you can find out quick. There's a hell on the other side that you ain't met yet. Tread real light, dare you to light that fuse, cause I can be.
And welcome into a bonus edition of the America Off the Rails show. I am your host, Rick Robinson. If you're just joining us, you missed a couple of folks from SHR Media hanging out with me for most of the last 90 minutes. This has been a pop-up edition. We're normally watching and listening to the ladies of the Red Wine. They'll be off for the next couple of weeks because next week is Spirited Books in this time slot. But since it is 8 days from the election and there's been so much news, I didn't really want to just put up another replay because I already do a replay during my time slot on Mondays most of the time. To try to get some administrative type stuff done during the day. So here's some stuff that has happened today, and we've touched on this a little bit. Now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with it, and then don't forget to hang out because right after I wrap here, we will be running Reaver of Common Sense from SHR Media as well. So for those of you hanging out, just stay with me. But anyway, so this is from our friends at Red State. This is Bob Hoja. Dateline today actually just came out a little bit ago. So Jeff Bezos has weighed in on the WAPO endorsement drama. And I quote, "Our profession is now the least trusted of all." And he's not wrong, ladies and gentlemen. That's part of the point that a lot of us that have, gone out and started doing this on our own have been trying to make for a long time is people don't trust the media anymore. Everybody's understanding that there's a bunch of backroom dealing and everything that goes on in media. It's not about whether you're any good at it. It's not about whether you're the best one in the room. And I'm not trying to say that I am before anybody says anything. It's about who you know. It's all about the connections. And this has been a thing now for a while. And that's just not the worst of it. The worst of it is that people are starting to understand that the people that were supposed to be the fourth estate, that were supposed to be the guardians of our democracy in a way, because that's the spot we put them in, whether it was the right decision or not, apparently it wasn't. But that's the position that we put them in, and that's the pedestal that we put them on, so to speak. And now we're starting to understand that they've never really been that. So as we get into the article a little bit, if you hear the sound of wailing tonight, it's probably Washington Post columnists screaming out of their windows. WAPO owner and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos finally weighed in on the endorsement controversy, embroiling his newsroom. And what he had to say just might cause even more editors and staff to resign. Hey, Bezos, if I can work remotely, I have a whole team that would come over like right now, bro. Just saying. The controversy stems from his spiking a planned endorsement for Democrat presidential nominee Kamilama Hamasnik. My words, not the writers here. Instead of backing her as everyone expected, he ordered that they endorse no one. Why might his Monday op-ed in his own paper freak out many of the staff even more? Because he delivers some hard truths. In the annual public surveys about trust and reputation, journalism and media have regularly fallen near the bottom, often just above Congress. And that's saying something, because Congress is less popular than a hooker with herpes. In this year's Gallup poll, we have managed to fall below Congress. So they're now even less popular than Congress. And Congress, in and of itself, again, is less popular than a hooker with herpes. Our profession is now the least trusted of all. Something we are doing is clearly not working. Let me give an analogy. Voting machines must meet two requirements. They must count the vote accurately, and people must believe that they count the vote accurately. It's weird that he chose this analogy. Just me, maybe? I don't know. So the second requirement is distinct from and is just as important as the first. And the people must believe that they count the vote accurately. Likewise, with newspapers, we must be accurate and we must be believed to be accurate. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we are failing on the second requirement. So there it is, the hard truth. Americans don't trust the news media by Jeff Bezos. Most people believe the media is biased. Anyone who doesn't see this is paying scant attention to reality, and those who fight reality lose. Reality is an undefeated champion. So I'm going to disagree with him, but only in slightly in part. I don't think the media being biased is a bad idea. The problem is they need to stop telling everybody that they're not. Ladies and gentlemen, when the media was first founded, when the printing press became a thing and everybody started realizing that they could put out town information sheets that eventually started being called newspapers, there were like 9 in every town. Everybody put out things from their own perspective, and people read the ones that they wanted to read. At some point along the way, we decided that the media had to be the bastion of truth. And in some ways, I blame the idea that they made Superman a reporter, because that kind of solidified the whole truth, justice, and the American way thing, because it tied reporters and Superman together in people's minds. And that's when they suddenly decided we have to be the bastions of truth. The problem is at some point they stopped being the bastions of truth. And I submit to you that in reality, they never really were. They were able to spin things well enough, and there was only limited sources of information before. So they were able to convince you that they were the ones telling the truth when everybody else wasn't. When in reality, in a lot of cases, they were still telling you the information that they wanted you to hear. You know how we know this now? Look at all the things that have come out that were considered conspiracy theories back when the media was supposedly trusted, that we now know are 100% accurate. Hell, I'll even go down a little bit. How about all the things that have come out that are at least 90% accurate during the time frame that the media was supposed to be, the bastions of morality and goodness in America and stand for truth, justice, and the American way? It's never really been a thing. We've made it into something that it was never supposed to be. But that's part of what they started trying to do, to control how you reacted to things. I don't think anybody understands how much everything that they do, and they being the powers that be at almost every level, do to control your reaction to information. You've seen it today if you're paying attention. We're 8 days from an election. They're not talking about her policies. They're not talking about how she's supposed to make your life better. You know why they're not? Because they know she can't. Because she's already told you that she's not going to do anything differently than Joe Biden, even though I'm not Joe Biden, but I wouldn't do anything different than Joe Biden. That's the problem. Every time they've given her a chance to get into the end zone and spike the football, she's fumbled it over and over and over again. And when you're in a 2-minute hurry-up offense, that can't happen. And that's where they are right now. See, this is me using football analogies because apparently a former football coach can't do it. It's another reason they aren't resonating with anyone. They are liars. They are trying to stage themselves as things that they are not, and they are falling flat, and they do it over and over and over again. That's like a former football coach, supposedly. Well, apparently he was some sort of volunteer football coach or something. Because the story there keeps changing too. But so he's playing Madden on Xbox. Now the question becomes, was the controller even ever actually on? Because you can't really see anything from the angles about whether the ring on the top of the controller was actually on or not. Because he said the weirdest thing ever. Kamala Harris can run a great pick six. Well, unless you're talking about the new gambling thing that's out, and I don't know if maybe your campaign has an endorsement from the pick six crew, what you just said makes zero sense. Look, I know what a pick six is. Anybody who's ever watched a football game knows what a pick six is. But I know you say you're the guy who's bad at English, but last I checked, you're supposed to be an English teacher. And yet your sentence made zero sense to anyone who's ever even watched a football game. So this is what I'm talking about. These people are completely inauthentic. They don't know who they are, so they can't tell you who they are because they don't know. And the reason this is such a big deal is because this is exactly what we're finding out about the media today. They don't know who they are either. They know that they are told that they have to do a certain story in a certain way or they're not going to be able to keep their job. And now they have a boss who's saying, well, we're not doing things like that anymore. And they are having kittens over it because they can't even imagine the idea that America could actually vote for Donald Trump again because, oh my God, he's the orange, terrible, bad man, and we can't have this. You know, I heard fucking AOC was on a podcast or something the other day talking about, can you imagine 4 more years of having to do resistance type stuff and fight him at every turn? Last I checked, that's not what your role as a minority party is supposed to be. Now, if we're stupid enough to give you a deadlock Congress again, then we've gotten what we've asked for. But if what I suspect is about to happen, and there's about to be a majority in the House and a majority in the Senate, and us controlling the White House, if there aren't enough Republicans coming on board to get the things done that need to get done, then it is time for us to make changes. And I think the Republicans have figured that out. I really do. I hope they do. Because that's what happened in 2016. Donald Trump won, and then the next thing you know, he's fighting people within his own party. He's fighting the other side, trying to get the things done that he said he was going to be able to, that he campaigned to do. And he did keep most of his promises, whether the left wants you to believe that he did or not, because they keep telling, well, no, he actually didn't. Yes, he actually did. There's a list. We may actually bring that list up tomorrow as a continuation of what we're talking about right now, since we're about to be out of time because I have a hard stop coming up in 18 minutes. But the whole reason I bring this up is because you're watching folks like Jeff Bezos, people who understand how things work and understand that if people stop believing you, they stop reading you and therefore you go away. So that's point number one. And it's just nuts to me that it's something that he would even have to say. In this environment, pretty much everybody knows that the mainstream media is not trustworthy anymore. This is why MSDNC has lower ratings than my network. Yes, I say that tongue in cheek, but not by much. Just saying. The truth, Bezos said, is nobody believes journalists anymore. He wouldn't come right out and say that it's because most of them are DNC sycophants and are desperately biased for the Democrats, but it's hard not to come away with that conclusion. Most people believe the media is biased. Anyone who doesn't see this is paying scant attention to reality, and those who fight reality lose. Reality is an undefeated champion. It would be easy to blame others for our long and continuing fall in credibility and therefore decline in impact, but a victim mentality will not help. But that's been their whole shtick for a decade and a half. Complaining is not a strategy. Somebody should tell that to Harris. We must work harder to control what we can control to increase our credibility. He also makes a point that many commenters have made here at Red State. Why do endorsements in the first place? They create a sense, a reality, that a given outlet is biased. Ending them is the principal thing to do. The zillionaire wrote, Eugene Mayer, publisher of the Washington Post from 1933 to 1946, thought the same, and he was right. He also said that he was not influenced by Donald Trump or anyone else, adding that while he understands the perception of conflict of interest, he's not only the owner of the Post, but he's still executive chairman of Amazon and is the founder of the aerospace company Blue Origin. He has nonetheless never let his personal interest affect his decision-making at the paper. I assure you that my views here are in fact principled, and I believe my track record as owner of the Post since 2013 backs this up. While I am no fan of Jeff Bezos for a variety of reasons, I have to admit this op-ed is solid. He is 100% correct that most people with brains don't trust the mainstream or corporate or legacy or whatever you want to call it media anymore, mostly because they constantly lie and mislead. If he and others don't fix the problem, we may very well be watching the slow motion death of traditional media right in front of our very eyes. As it stands now, that would be a good thing. So just to point this out, and this is from Brett Hume, Bezos, whose paper lost $77 million last year, is absolutely correct. And ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of my thing. Look, I understand that I work in a right-leaning media group. Hell, I've founded 2 of them, and I work for another one. But it's because there has to be balance. Because there has to be balance. This whole idea that most everybody in the media that people pay attention to, that gets the millions of impressions on X, that gets the thousands and millions of views when they do live streams, is all in the bag for one side of the aisle is just asinine to me. We used to be a country that could come together. We need to find that again. And I said this to somebody on X today because I got embroiled in some pretty heavy discussions about the whole comedian thing and everything else. And then before I knew it, this person was telling me their whole life story and how Obamacare saved their life and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying that that didn't happen. What I am saying, though, is those weren't my experiences. I lost my father-in-law primarily because of all the new red tape that was put in place by Obamacare. I lost my grandfather during the time that we were finding out all the ineptitude about the VA after he was already put into the VA with dementia. I hold that administration 1,000% responsible, just like I hold the governors responsible for their responses to COVID. Now, Donald Trump did at one point pull a Judge Dredd during COVID, and I do remember him saying this, that he's 100% responsible for when things reopen and when they don't, and he's ultimately the decider of when that happens and that everybody should stay closed down. Yes, I remember that. I'm not a fan of that. But again, I'm not voting for him because he's perfect. I'm not voting for him because I think he's the second coming. I'm voting for him because if I don't, we're going to wind up a full-on communist nation before we can blink, because we're nearly there now. These people have been running the communist playbook on us for over 100 years. They're doing it today. Instead of talking about the fact that Kamala can't come out and tell you anything that she's going to do to make your life better. The only thing she talks about is we're going to give women back the right to supposedly control their own bodies. And then they pull there's no laws that tell men what they can and can't do with their bodies, when in fact there are. Men have to sign up for the draft through selective service. So if we go to war, it means we're the ones that get called up, not y'all. And I'm sorry, y'all fought for equality so badly. You wanted equality so badly. And this is coming from a guy who has daughters. As far as I'm concerned, y'all should have to sign up now. Because if you can do everything we can do better, then prove it. Because that's been your mantra now for a very long time. And this goes back to something that Sean and I were talking about earlier. I firmly blame the feminist movements for so many things, but much like we're now starting to see all of the embedded crap that was going on with January 6th, all the embedded crap that went in with the Whitmer Fednapping, and all the different times that we're seeing them being involved to put pressure in just all the right places to make sure things pop off. I'm really starting to think this was their intention all along, even way back then, because they were able to, like, and I was talking about this with Sean, within a decade, they doubled their tax base. Actually, more than, well, probably doubled, because not every woman left to go to work. That's pretty much the way it is now, or was. Now women are like, dude, we kind of miss, we kind of want to be housewives. And now they're being shouted down because they're making the decision to stay home with their kids. And that's why you hear all these people saying, well, we should just have abortion up until birth. The same people that are screaming and yelling that there aren't enough people having kids, so we have to let illegal immigrants in or nobody's going to pick our vegetables. That is the thing that you guys you made zero sense. Not only does it make zero sense, it's zero self-awareness, just none. Because you are echoing soft bigotry racism right in front of everyone, and either you don't know it or you can't see it. And either way, it is not funny. Because the idea that, well, if you send all these people home, then if you think food prices are bad now, so you're admitting that you know that there are farms and companies that are breaking the law in this country, but you're fine with it because it supposedly keeps your prices down. This is what I'm saying. The laws don't matter to them unless they affect them. This is why, and we talked about this earlier in the show too, with what's going on in Nevada right now, with a judge basically saying that it doesn't matter if they're postmarked or not, they still have to be counted. And the same rule applies as if they were postmarked by election day, which is they can be counted for up to 4 days. You guys realize what that means? That means that unless this Fifth Circuit rule kicks in, which I'm hoping it will, that we may not know the outcome in Nevada for 4 or 5 days. That gives them baked in time to try to rig it. And that's why I'm saying we have to win everywhere that we can in such a way that it doesn't matter how many votes they come up with in other places. That is why I'm telling you, I know that we understand how the Electoral College works. I know that we understand that the popular vote doesn't really matter. The problem is their side doesn't. And the only way that we're going to show them with one resounding voice that we're tired of their bullshit. We're tired of their one-sided coverage of everything. We're tired of everything that they do being fine, great, and dandy, even when it causes people to die. And everything that we do is basically wrapped in racism. The only way that that's ever going to change is if we beat them in such a way that they cannot look back at it and say that it was a fluke. So I'm going to say this again as we get ready to wrap up the show for tonight. If you haven't voted yet, please go vote if you can. If you have voted yet, or if you have voted already, if you can, try to find friends and take them back to the polls. Because J.D. Vance said it really nicely today. And he's right. I'm now waiting for the media to come out tomorrow and say that he was calling for election fraud, because they'll leave the second sentence off. Because he's like, I want you to go to the polls and vote 10 times. And he's like, okay, no, not really. We don't do that. But the way you can vote 10 times is you go to the polls and you take 9 friends with you. And then if you do it right, those 9 friends go find 9 more friends apiece, and then make sure they go to the polls. That's how we can vote 10 times and do it legally. And ladies and gentlemen, and I said this earlier and I didn't really get to finish my thought. What concerned me earlier with the early voting returns is I wasn't sure if this was cannibalizing what would normally be day of voting and that there would be a fall off there, or if this was actually new voters that were being brought in that were voting voting mail in or whatever options they have available. And then we're still going to get about the same foot traffic on day of. From everything that I'm seeing right now, it looks like if the traffic numbers hold, some of these people are voters that either haven't voted before or haven't voted mail in at all before. So there's a good chance if we can hold these kind of numbers that come election night, we may not have to be here all day. I mean, right now, based on early return information, they're saying New Hampshire could be in play. They're saying Virginia could be in play. If Virginia goes, this thing's over by 7, 8 o'clock. If New Hampshire goes, it's done. Because those are states that nobody was expecting them to be able to pick off. And look, again, I'm not telling you to relax. What I am telling you is not to have a heart attack over it, because we've got the momentum again. I know that we all felt really defeated after the candidate swap, because we really expected the left to be like, what the fuck is this? And the thing that I don't think anybody's understood is that is happening, just not the way we thought. For the kind of numbers to be showing up in early voting the way that they are, that means a lot of folks have either crossed the aisle and are pulling the lever the other way, or a lot of folks have changed their voter registration. I think the Democrats may have shot themselves in the foot. Now, I could be wrong. We could be watching this election night and I could be crying in my beer, because I've been wrong before. That's why I usually don't try to call things, and I'm not calling anything now. That's why I'm saying I don't want you to think this is a foregone conclusion. I don't want you to think that no matter what, we're going to win. What I do want you to think, and what I do want you to do is, as my good friend Jersey Joe says, and now Don Jr. said it, and I think I heard it on Clay and Buck today, fight like you're the third, fight and vote like you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark, and it's about to start raining, because that's it. And I said this last night too. If we don't win this time, I don't know if we can hang around for 4 more years. Not of this. And she's already said there's really not a lot of things that she would do differently. And even though she's walked a lot of her policies back that she was spouting about in 2019, she's already walking some of them forward again too. But that's the problem. Again, nobody knows who she is. Nobody knows what she stands for. She's not resonating with anybody except for their base. They're not pulling from independents the way they expected to be. And I think a lot of that is because we have built a coalition. And I said this today. MAGA is not about a person. MAGA is a movement. It means make America great again. There's absolutely nothing that is dirty or filthy about that sentiment, because America deserves to be great. She was founded in greatness. She's had a great history. She's done a lot of good around the world. And it's time for us to start doing some of that good at home. And with the common sense coalition that has come together with folks like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., these are people that don't have the same party affiliation. They don't agree on 100% of the things, but they agree about things that we have in common. This is one of the things that me, as somebody that's been doing this for 16 years, has been calling for. Put the hot button issues aside long enough to fix what's broken. And then we can go back to fighting with each other about the things that don't really matter as much. It really is pretty much that simple. All right, folks. Well, believe it or not, we are pretty much out of time here. My name is Rick Robinson. Again, we normally do this one on Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. I almost said 9 p.m. Central. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon for the Rick Robinson Show, which is Tuesday through Friday now between the hours of noon and 3. I have a guest coming up on Saturday. Have another couple guests on Wednesday. Have another couple guests on deck. We're just trying to nail times down. So as soon as I know, you'll know, and I'll talk more about the guests that I have on Wednesday tomorrow. But we got to get out of here because Jersey Joe is coming up next, and I have some editing to do for Mr. Loftus. So want to thank everybody for hanging out tonight. Thank you so much. Quite a few of you hanging out on a Monday. I haven't done a Monday evening show in a while. Decent traffic. Don't get your hopes up. There's usually other stuff in my spot, though. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, Raptor.
Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the woods.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. Game over.
Closing time. Time for you to go out to the places you will be from. Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.